Welcome to week 10 of MVC Gridiron Weekly, presented by Davila and DeFusco Insurance. Tim Wood, Bill Bryant, Hector Longo, Lou Blasi. Hector...
The first in the studio, Hector Longo. First in the studio
fighting
for the record.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. I was... Well,
he wasn't the first, but he wasn't the last either.
No,
I mean in the seat, fellas. I mean first in the seat.
Okay, fair enough.
right.
I mean, I was in a seat, but nonetheless.
I don't need to hear about that, Tim.
I mean,
honest to God, nobody needs to hear about
Just saying.
The show just took a turn for the worse.
Oh, my God.
Into the toilet.
And I did not get the memo or the gray shirt. So
Yeah, it was gray shirt day. I'm sorry.
I don't have either. The memo or the actual
Okay,
gray
fair
shirt.
enough. No Al's today. Al and Kelly are in Nashville for the Patriots game.
I am house sitting.
You're house sitting?
Absolutely.
No kidding.
People go away like that. They can't leave their house, especially when it's on, it's kind of out there known that...
Someone
they're
trusts you?
No, I'm out in the shed, actually.
Oh, okay,
just
making sure.
keeping guard.
Just making
Not in the
sure.
main house.
Tim,
So-
can you explain why we're late, please, so I don't get the blame on this?
No,
on this
yeah,
one?
just
Not you.
technical difficulties. But we are here, and very excited to talk playoff action. Another great weekend for the MVC. Wow, I mean,
Foot stomping day, Tim. Foot stomping
day. I mean,
Well, 2 days.
foot
but
to the
anyways.
foot to the throat day in
Yeah,
terms of
I
North
mean-
Andover. I mean, Lincoln Sudbury beat them last year. North Andover. I mean, Lincoln Sudbury must be like, is this the same team? And it literally was the same team.
All I'm saying is the rest of the state had better take notice because North Andover is a legit monster. I'm tired of this ranking number 5th, number 6th.
I mean, if Danny Ventura isn't paying attention to this one,
If they're not ranked number 1, that is crazy.
The door is wide open. I don't care what division they play in.
No, they're the best team. In
Yeah.
the state.
how do you not look at that game? How do you not look at the way they have absolutely dominated not just the entire season, but this playoff run has just been exclamation point after exclamation point.
And now, yeah, I mean, it's thump, thump, thump. I know the people in Danvers and St. John's are saying, come on now, we're better, blah, 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 blah. I think North Andover has been the most dominant team since the opening snap this year. I mean, honest to God.
It's hard to argue.
If you look at the numbers, and I don't want to bore people with them, but they're ripping people to shreds.
It's not. I mean, it's not just. It's not a. Okay, we survived that one. Every game. This one was 42-0. I mean, last week we don't have the numbers on us at the moment. It was
42-14, and it was 42-0 at the half. I mean, honest to God.
Here's my favorite part, Lou, is they don't have the depth that other teams have.
It's crazy.
Let's start with this.
No, they just are the best team. Their position across the board. They have kids that are just elite players, and they're dominating anyone that steps in front of them. They are the best team.
Well, I mean, you mentioned depth. Freddie Gavin wasn't starting the first couple of weeks of this year.
Nope.
All of a sudden, he's a Player of the Year candidate in a lot of different spots. I mean, obviously he plays on a roster laden with Player of the Year candidate types. But I mean, honest to God, Bill, this has been a mighty impressive year. It's I don't know how far do you have to go back to see a team in the region that's dominated like this.
At this level, no, you're
Yeah.
absolutely right. Absolutely right.
I mean, teams have won. Central Catholic has won state titles. Teams have gone to Super Bowls along the way. But this is, you're in your car Friday night, 5 minutes into the game, and it's 14-0, and you're going, why bother going? Fight the track,
7-0.
Park 9 miles away.
Gabe D'Souza, pick 6.
Yeah.
106 into the game. I mean, it's.
And the question to Gabe, the question to the coach has been, how do you keep players locked in early in the season when you guys are dominating and they're not showing any signs? They are showing up each week and they're getting better. They're doing what they need to do, and then they're coming out on Friday night, Saturday, it doesn't matter, and they are absolutely locked in, ready to go. And that starts at coaching, but that also goes to leadership, and that goes right down to the last player in the depth chart that is just showing up ready to go.
We will have Coach John Dobzinski on the show a little later to talk about this huge win and just, how he's got this team just absolutely locked in, and see if we can get him to do any lobbying in terms of these rankings. Probably not.
All right, so we can talk about their performance with John, but I want to take a little sidebar here and talk about that game itself on Friday night. North Andover and Lincoln Sudbury. It's a North sectional final.
Yep.
Okay. Is it fair that Lincoln Sudbury has to come up here on a Friday night to play in a game this big? I'm wondering why these games aren't at neutral sites. I'm wondering at this point in time. Now, I know there are plenty solid neutral sites in between available, and I know North Andover and other teams have had to make the trip down there. Teams have to make trips,
Well, I mean,
Masconomet went to Lincoln Sudbury in the playoff opener on Friday night, and I give you the home field advantage in the first round. But that's a tough trip either way.
Yeah, you're right.
And I'm just wondering if we shouldn't be looking at the fact that these games at this level should be neutral site games. In other sports, once you get back past the sectional quarterfinals, you go to neutral sites. Why in football are we playing at home sites? And you reward North Andover for playing a strong schedule and destroying such a strong schedule and earning the number 1 seed, and I'll give them credit to that for a point, but I wonder why we're playing that one in North Andover this week.
And it's funny, I didn't think we were going to talk about it, and, obviously Tewksbury's having a great season, but when I saw the videos from their game at home, I kind of thought the same thing, like, geez, at that level, a turf field, a bigger field, just a more equal footing field, so I have to agree with you on that.
I just wondered, now, years ago, when I'm old and these things kind of all meld together, but I can remember when they had the playoff system before and you went to Lowell and there was a doubleheader on Thursday or the Tuesday night playing into the Saturday for the playoffs. So I'm just wondering how we got away from that. Why do, I guess the home sites are more accommodating for one side, but in the grand scheme of things, I'm wondering if that shouldn't be revisited. You know what I'm saying?
Added to the list of things that need to be revisited at this point, honestly.
But you're going to get probably 25% more people at the gate, because if I'm a huge high school fan and I'm stuck, I can't go to many games, but I can go to one site and take in a couple, 3 games, I may just do that. You're probably going to increase attendance and all that, so that's another great point.
And, look, nothing was ever perfect. I harken back to days where I went to playoff games in Arlington, of all places. And if you can get to Arlington from here, without getting lost, congratulations to you.
Right.
And there's no parking, but there are some really good sites out there. I keep thinking of Lowell and Cawley and being such, right off the highway and such a great facility. And, but there are others up and down the highways here
that have stands on both sides of the field.
Oh, yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
And that's something that...
Exactly. But I just wonder why, the Danvers Tewksbury thing. There's 600 really great fields in between those two towns. Why wouldn't you play that on a neutral site?
What are the odds of us getting a MIAA rep into
the same odds of me getting an MIAA media pass the last 30 years, Bill. Yeah. Honest to God. But I just wanted to bring that up right away.
Yeah, no, it's a great point.
I'm not taking anything away from North Andover or Tewksbury or St. John's Prep for that matter. Congratulations, you were in the number 1 seed, or in the Prep's case, the 2 seed, or what happens. But you were in the higher seed. You deserve it. Congratulations. But at this point, I can't imagine playing a North Final basketball game on Hampshire Street.
It would be a better fan experience.
Yeah, probably.
It would be a better fan experience to have it in a neutral site.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the coaches, obviously the coaches have lobbied to get it to this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, look, there's just a million tweaks that could be done.
Yeah,
and that one just.
I mean, we will do a whole show on it. I mean, there's a show to be done on the playoff system and just all the little tweaks that need to be done. So let's. Tewksbury, 28-21. Tewksbury wins the Division III North title over Danvers. As we mentioned, they played Saturday at Tewksbury at Doucette Stadium. Listen, a hard-fought game, a great game. The Redmen made the stances when they had to. We're going to have very shortly. We're going to have on Coach Brian Aylward, and then we will also have on standout Jack Kelly from Tewksbury to talk about the huge win. But they had Jay Connolly with a couple of great plays. They got down early, 14-0, and they made the run back. 28 unanswered points to win. You hearing that?
Yeah, it sounds like a cell phone.
Okay.
Guys got a cell phone close to something there?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, I'll hide that. Okay.
Hiding the cell phones.
I think it was me. Blame it on me. I moved my cell phone late, Lou.
Happens.
So, and Connolly led them all the way. Just a great game for Tewksbury. Great win for the program. And as we said, we'll have the coach and we'll have Jack Kelly on in a little bit.
I think the first half of that game, though, what you saw was Danvers came with a game plan. They ran the ball. They controlled the clock for the first half, and
they led 14-0. Tim, you forgot to mention that.
No, I did.
And it wasn't.
You weren't listening because your cell phone was blinking, but I actually did say they were up 14-0, 28 unanswered points.
And if it wasn't for a double pass, and that's something that has impressed me with Tewksbury over the last few years, and even this year, they have these little gadget plays that are not gadget plays. It's almost like the Patriots where they've been building upon them all year, and they got that touchdown right before halftime, which was impressive. Alward to Brinklow, making it 14-7. I don't think Tewksbury needed the momentum going into halftime as much as the coaches were going to get them prepared. But having that score was huge.
Do you guys follow my man Ronnie D on Twitter?
Yes.
He makes it like you're at the game.
Yeah, he does.
All right. Now I heard I've had a couple of people come up this week to me. Actually, the last couple of weeks, I shouldn't say in this week, but have talked about how well Matt Curran has shined at Methuen in his athletic director's role this past season, and how he's kind of setting a standard. I got to give a shout out to my man Ronnie D over there at Tewksbury because
Ronnie's making a run
because he's done it. Honest to God, if you wondered where his heart was, just follow him on Twitter. I think it's at TMHS Sports. You see he's into it, so I just wanted to throw that out there. That was really cool yesterday, following him along, the wildly crazy comeback, the excitement level of the game. He amps up with the game, so it's kind of cool following him. Just that.
Oh yeah, you can feel it.
And he's a Lawrence Lancer guy, and he lives in Methuen.
Yeah. So
the hockey team, the swim team. So not only is he just taking care of Tewksbury, but there's just a lot of creative thinking going on that's at the end of the day benefiting kids. So him and Matt, when they join up, are creating a pretty darn good product as well.
Is it TMHS Athletics or is it sports?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Tim. I just know I type in TMHS and something happens.
Yeah. No.
So.
Okay. Absolutely. And they played. I mean, like you said, you follow it along. You're feeling the energy.
Yeah.
I mean, another great win for the program, and we will, like I said, we'll have on the coach. We'll have on Jack Kelly in a second here.
We sort of mentioned it too, the third playoff game that that didn't come out of victory.
St. John's Prep 21-0 over Central Catholic. Was Central ever really in it?
Well, look, they had a tough start. They made a couple of big mistakes early. And you have to play perfect against these teams. A team like St. John's is not going to allow you back in the game. Kind of the things they did against Everett to win, they just didn't convert on those plays, and that was the difference. St. John's is big and strong and physical, and the Tully kid can really.
They ran up against a defense, just to
move the football.
Yeah.
I think 6 sacks on Severio.
Yeah.
So he had a tough day, and putting in perspective, I think St. John's has been the team in the North, other than Everett, for a while, and maybe Central did them a favor beating Everett, maybe not, but it was a really good run for Central to get there. With a team that I don't think anybody expected.
Yeah, you can't take anything away from that.
Nope.
From that victory
Not at all.
and being there and being that down year, they definitely got coached well throughout the year and got them ready.
All right, we have on the line with us our first guest of the day, the victorious Tewksbury Redmen 28-21 over Danvers. They will play Duxbury Friday night at Colley Stadium in Lowell. Brian Aylward, the coach of Tewksbury Redmen, how are you, sir? Tim Wood, Bill Bryant, Hector Longo.
How you doing, guys?
Very good. How about you?
I'm doing good.
Tell us how you're feeling 14-0, Coach, and what you saw from your team in terms of the heart to make that comeback.
Yeah, that wasn't feeling too good early on. You know, that team is very physical up front, and we knew that going in. They get these two big battling fullbacks, and this Matt McCarthy, who's rushed for all kinds of yards this year. And, you know, they do a good job. They're well coached. They got a good system. You know, Bruce Rich, Timmy Rich, that, you know, old friends from Chelmsford are over there running their offense. And, you know, very typical of some of those really successful Chelmsford years with what they were doing. So we kind of had an idea what they were going to try and do, and you know, we just had to find a way to stop the bleeding.
Coach, as much as you can, I know you don't want to give away too much or, you know, talk too much about your game plan, but the second half adjustment, you know, the way Danvers was running the ball, you came out, the adjustments were made, and it didn't look like Danvers could be stopped as far as that run game. Can you talk a little bit about what you talked about at halftime and how you were able to kind of turn that around?
Well, you know, anytime we're getting beat, particularly up front, you know, my big focus is always just, you know, going back to basics and having guys, and particularly the guys in the front, not, you know, trying to do too much. You know, when you're one-on-one, because don't try to make tackles. You know, drive your guy back. That's your first job, and if you can. If you can do that, then you have the right to play. You know, like we got a lot of guys kind of peeking around blocks and trying to do a little bit too much, and so a lot of it was just kind of going back to basics and focusing on their fundamentals and that kind of thing. But you know, our defensive guys are good. You know, our staff. You know, Steve Casper, Zach, Brian Hickey, and Mark Bradley does our secondary. So we huddled up a little bit, and actually, you know, we usually would put more guys on the line of scrimmage. You know, conventional wisdom is you put more guys on the line of scrimmage when you know, teams running the ball on you pretty good. And we kind of went with the unconventional. Took one guy off the line of scrimmage and kind of put more guys at the second level, and it kind of screwed up some of their blocking schemes, and our guys played hard, so they ended up working out well.
You mentioned Matt McCarthy with Danvers and how big of a game and how big of a season he's had. They went on a 14-play drive, got it down right to the goal line, Coach, and they tried to get McCarthy punching it in, and your team just wasn't having it. That was certainly the biggest part of the game. You know, I mean, you know, we knew that we were going to need to, you know, get a couple stops and then be efficient when we get the ball. And you know, that goal line stand was good to see. Good to see our guys, you know, suck it up and get after it when they really needed it.
So Brian, you're a second-generation coach here. I'm curious, back in the old days, maybe when you played or when your dad was coaching, I wonder, at halftime, the adjustments were probably, hey, Jimmy, you got to get tougher. Or Freddie, you need to get, you know, your guy is kicking the daylights out of you here. Why don't you step up your game? Now it's more technical at halftime. Is it more scheming as opposed to challenging kids physically like back in the day? I guess that old school stuff is probably not politically correct these days. Is there less of that now and more schematic stuff at halftime when you're making adjustments like that?
Well, you know, growing up here in this program, you know, I don't see it as you know, much difference at all.
Really?
You know, I mean, it's always about you know, like I said, refocus on your fundamentals and you know, doing your job, you know, and playing team defense, and you know, if you get 11 guys that believe that their particular job is is important, and that play is going to be the most important play of the game, and dial back into that mindset. I mean, you got to get the kids refocused that way, but the technical piece that's always been really what we've tried to do. Always going to, whether we're winning or losing, you need to go back in and try to, it's everybody's got a heightened focus on what we can do better, and we try to get that done at halftime all the time.
Coach, have we seen this? I almost feel like we've seen this reverse. I feel like we saw this reverse in the Methuen game, but just tell us about this reverse pitch that put you guys ahead.
Yeah, you know what? I don't even really remember what the play was, to be honest with you. I just, I always get back into after the game and just, I'm such a mental case. I get back in there and I ask the guys, I don't even know who scored touchdowns or, sometimes I ask what the score was. I have no idea. I just trying to live in the play and, what we're going to do next if this thing doesn't go good. So we did, we ran some single wing with spinning fullback and popped a good pass to get out of the end zone. We did do we ran a play that we had run earlier in the year against Gridiron. And the first time we played them, that I, got off of BYU ran it in the game that they beat Wisconsin. Wisconsin's one of my favorites because they actually snapped the ball to the quarterback underneath the center. And then
crazy concept, huh?
So, I'm always, they don't have a good year this year.
Yeah,
that's real old. That's real old school, Coach. The whole under the center quarterback stuff.
It's amazing. I remember coaching the Shriners game one year, and wanted to run a couple plays, and the kid's like, Coach, I've never taken a snap from underneath the center.
We saw E.J. Perry do it a few times last night for the Eagles. It was, I bet you had kids who were like, what is that? What's he doing?
Yeah, I was, watching that too. So it was good to see him actually get out there on the field, and it's got to be encouraging to for a lot of the guys in the area to see the local kid get out there and be on TV.
Typically, a reverse pitch would be a trick play. But when you've got Connolly and Kelly, you've got two guys that are so dependable. That almost seems like it's just a regular play in the playbook for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, but, a lot of those, kind of common plays, and I guess people call them gadget plays, but if you practice them a lot, they become less
Absolutely,
gadget.
yeah.
So if you make it part of your offense and you hold the expectation that play is going to be executed just like an ISO belly, then the kids start to just go out and do it. So we'll practice a lot of that stuff. We're usually going to practice a whole bunch of stuff because we don't know what's going to work. And usually as we get into the game, and as long as the kids are smart and the kids want to win and they want to give themselves a chance to win, they'll learn. So you can throw a bunch of stuff at them, and if they care enough, they're gonna want to have more in our toolbox.
In terms of Friday, Tewksbury, College Stadium. How do you get your guys out of the home field to the neutral field mentality now, and with the state semifinal?
Well, we've had many games on. We've had more games on turf than we've had on our grass, so we can play on that too. It's actually easier. But as far as the kids getting ready for this week, we have the opportunity to practice over on the high school turf with all the other teams trying to wrap their season up. So, we'll do a damage assessment today in terms of guys being banged up. We get a bunch of guys through, two real physical teams the last 2 weeks. double tight end, power running game. So our kids have been through the meat grind the last 2 weeks, and their bodies are, not breaking down, but we just got to be smart with what we do in terms of contact stuff. It's going to be a lot more knowledge stuff, and keep our conditioning going and that kind of thing.
Coach, living in New England and watching the Patriots, we kind of, check out every single thing Belichick does. Do you think having the Baruka game moved 3 times and then moved to Chelmsford, in the long run will help as far as venues now, time changes, all that? Your team doesn't...
guys have dealt with a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I mean, the kids are pretty
resilient.
They can adjust, and they've had to do that. We do it on a week-to-week basis. And, when the rain's really bad, we have to practice. So, our field doesn't take on water all that good, so we'll go over and practice on the turf. So they used to kind of move around and change the schedule. And bottom line is, we got to get all the people together, and we got to learn stuff and practice stuff. So it doesn't matter where it is and what time it is. It's just we got to get after it. So,
Randy.
So they'll be ready. It's going to be a neutral site, so it's a different place for them just as much as it is for us.
Hey, Brian.
And our ride is much shorter.
So, Brian, obviously Coach Elwood's in the thick of this thing here. Does Brian Elwood, the parent, get to enjoy this with your son a little bit, Shane? Obviously, he had another big day.
Great question.
Do you get to enjoy that at all, or are you still Coach Elwood till the end of the season?
Well, you know what? It's the same as what we talk to the kids to all of our kids all the time. Is that guys don't, you're going to have from the end of the season to like the very last game to play that we're allowed to play for the rest of your life to kind of look back and get those memories and that kind of thing. So we don't do a whole lot of that stuff. I'll tell them that I'm proud of them, and I actually gave him a hug on the field.
And that's as far as it goes?
That's a true high school coach right there.
I came in the field after the game, and the guys are going like, the newspaper guys come up, what was I saying on this and that? And I said, well,
none yet.
I kind of gave him a hug because he's my son. Yeah. So, that's pretty much all it was. But, I'm proud of him, and I liked a lot of kids. So, but, we are able to, he's a very focused kid. And, he wants to, do whatever role we ask him to do, and he wants to win. He's a very competitive kid. He's always been that way. So, he's like, he's got a little bit of coach in him in terms of, what's next and, what are we going to do to get better and that kind of thing. So, but I have enjoyed it. He's a good kid, and, he's had a good year.
That's an understatement, Coach. Stop understating your own kid. I know we had enough of that with Bill over here hiding his kid. He's had a spectacular year, Brian. Congratulations.
Yeah, absolutely. I've enjoyed, watching them do what they've done. Another great win this weekend. Those 2 teams back to back, Lexington and Reading. I've seen both of those teams over, and so. But we talked way back at the beginning of the year, and they're a good enough team to go ahead and play against anybody, and they have. So. Just a tremendous year, and I'm happy for Tommy and his staff, and I know that they work hard at it, and so that's great. It's always good to, at this point, always rooting for the league, teams in the league. I would like to have seen, Central, beat, that other private school in the private school tournament, but they didn't. Chucky's done a great job, and to get that big win against Everett is just it's tremendous for him and his guys, but certainly for the league as well.
Coach, one last point for me. preparation and doing the little things, those are all the things you've talked about. And I know it's a little bit of a reach here, but I think it's, for high school football, it's really, really important for you to just talk a minute about the preseason clinic that you and Coach Ryan put on for the high school freshmen and 8th graders. Because here you are again in the playoffs. Here you are again with your team prepared, ready to go, talking about the little things. If you're a player in the MVC and you're not interested in coming out for this clinic, just real quick, just talk a little bit about it and how important and how obviously valuable that is.
Well, I think it's a worthwhile thing. For us, certainly, because we're going to, pretty much get a lot of our up-and-coming guys, that, we're going to be dealing with on Friday and Friday nights, Saturdays, and years down the road. But, just to have the kids, ramp it up a notch from what they've done in youth football and really, try to put a good product on the field in terms of, get some good coaches involved. And, it's tough because it's in July, it's hot, but, we do it at night. And it's 4 nights of, just kind of getting that transition to high school football. And, we enjoy it. And, there's a lot of other programs that might try to steer the kids to, different big money camps and pay $300-400 to go get an autograph from Gronkowski or something. We're actually focused on, each and every kid that are there and trying to get them ready. And those kids do show up ready, it's been a good thing.
Sets the tone.
And that's my point, Coach. The folks, the kids that have shown up over the last few years, my son, as Hector talked about, I don't talk about much. Those were 2 very important, years for him as far as just getting the exposure to the high school varsity quarterbacks and just that whole next level. So I think it's something, and if you're a high school football player and you're coming into that 8th or 9th grade year, it's definitely a must attend camp.
Yeah, it's good, you can go back and see these kids that are making stuff happen at the varsity level now, and it's like, I remember that kid from. And I hear our kids talk about it. I remember that kid from transition camp, and it's pretty good.
We got Jack Kelly coming up next, Coach. Tell us a little bit in terms of what makes him so special. What made him captain material as a junior, and how he's delivered on all the expectations this year.
We might put more on his shoulders than anybody we got. I would say the same about our other guys. Like certainly Jay Conley and Trace Trant and Shane, guys like that. But Jack, pound for pound, is as tough a kid we have. Pound for pound is one of the toughest kids that I've coached. He's such a poised leader. So he goes through some major collisions and has to kind of dust himself off. He knows that there is no other option, and he's just been great. He doesn't. You don't hear his voice a lot, but when you do hear his voice, the guy's hop too. The perfect kind of leader, and he doesn't ask people to do anything that he doesn't ask of himself. So he's just had a tremendous year. He's worked so hard in the off season to kind of get himself ready, and in every single game since the very beginning of this year, when the tide turns in a game, he's usually right in the middle of it. So he's been great.
Huge congratulations on the run, Coach. Not over yet by any means. Tewksbury Friday night, Colley Stadium in Lowell. Best of luck to you there. Huge congratulations on the success, and we appreciate you joining us as always here on MVC Gridiron Weekly.
You guys have done great. I appreciate, like I say every time, it's I appreciate you guys doing what you do, and we're fighting up for Tewksbury. they're really big and they're really fast. So, but that's we're still in the tournament. We've been saying it week in, week out. Just stay in the tournament, guys. It's been fun, but you can't look too far down the road on the calendar. It's all about because we can't get there unless we get through today. So we got another game in the tournament, and we're going to give it everything we have. Still our guts.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, guys.
Good luck moving forward.
All right. Thanks.
All right.
All right. Appreciate it, guys.
Right back at you. We'll take a quick break here. We will bring on junior captain Jack Kelly from Tewksbury after the break. Take a quick break on MVC Gridiron Weekly, presented by Davila DeFusco Insurance.
Everyone is cashing in on social media, and all marketing roads lead through social media. If you want to make a splash here in the Merrimack Valley, you need to tap in. This is where the new CEM podcast studios come in. Of course, you can spend your time, energy, and money learning how to wrangle technology to make a podcast instead of running your business. Or you can invest in telling everyone in the Merrimack Valley, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Maine, the Seacoast, or everywhere in the world about your great business, product, service, or yourself. The CEM Podcast Studio is a local audio and video studio dedicated to the craft of podcasts. Their studios feature state-of-the-art recording and mixing equipment designed specifically to produce the best audio and video podcast. Best of all you need to worry about is your show, your business, and your brand. We do the rest. Call 978-686-9966. That's 978-686-9966 to schedule a no-obligation tour of the CEM facilities and meet with a podcast specialist. Or go to CEMpodcast.com to find out more about podcasting services. CEMpodcast.com, your window to the world.
I love talking about my man, Val Davila. It's a dream to own your own business, and Val and Susan Davila made that a reality in February 2013. They started with just 2 insurance carriers, but now Right in Place Insurance for Progressive, Safeco, Pilgrim, Plymouth Rock, and Mapfre, just to name a few. Need auto insurance, renters, commercial, or home? Davila and DeFusco prides itself in having lifelong roots in the Merrimack Valley. Put their experience to work for you. Visit them at 225 Broadway or call 978-241-7950 for a free quote, or visit them online at daviladefusco.com. Back on MVC Gridiron Weekly, presented by Davila and DeFusco Insurance. Tim Wood, Bill Bryant, Hector Longo. Want to talk about a couple of quick other non-playoff games
Before
here?
we go on,
Yeah.
Bill, you coward. I was waiting for you to ask the question, hey, Coach, do you really think you should have played that on a neutral field, or did you kind of benefit from the home field turf yesterday? I was waiting for you to step up, Bill. Come on now.
All right.
No, seriously. But anyways, what a great guy, great coach. I mean, their success over there has been amazing in Tewksbury. I would love to have them gotten into a little bit more historical, but I realized there were other things to cover here. Maybe that's for another time. But the history of that program and the success that they've had for a small town that's it's grown into a city type thing, kind of thing. But just what the success they've had over the years in that program has been flat out amazing. Right?
And that's why I had to bring up the transition camp, because you see kids all over now wearing the different colored shirts, transition camp, and it just, to me, it's why his team is there every year. They lift, they run, they do the off-season workout, and they're in the playoffs every year, and they're contending, and there's no other reason other than great coaching and great preparation.
And that was the other thing too. I was thinking of when he was talking about it, the Kelly kid and the work he did in the off-season. The weight room doesn't lie, huh?
Nope.
I mean, it just does not lie. There have been so many different guys in the off season that have come into their own just through the weight room itself. And you see it. There are kids who are in the weight room to stand around. There are kids who are in there getting their work done. It just does not lie, man. You put the work in, it translates immediately on the field. And I think we've seen that with a lot of different kids at different times, a lot of different programs. But man, this Tewksbury team has come out of nowhere, and I think that's been a huge reason why.
And now we're at the neutral site in Lowell, which is about 4 minutes from Tewksbury.
Yeah.
Hey, there's an awful lot of traffic on Route 38, Bill, at that time of day.
Tough trip.
It can be a little hectic.
I mean, you guys had to enjoy the private tournament comment, though, right? That was
Yes, absolutely right. Maybe we're inching towards that way. I mean, I don't know, but you know something? If you made a Catholic or a private school tournament, something like that, you'd have people complaining about Everett. You know what I'm saying? And the rest of the teams in Division I would be complaining about Everett.
But also, then just have them follow the actual MIAA rules. You know what I mean? And that part
Bill,
of it.
Stop.
No. As far as if someone moves into a town, there has to be some logistics to it. There has to be some where you look at that, and I think that's when it would be fair. You know what I mean, across the board. Because you brought it up. They'd have to look in Everett. Then just follow the rules of common sense. You know, if 10 or 11 people are moving in to just play football or whatnot, then you have to look at that. Is that really legit?
That's Bill Bryant making those comments, folks. That's not Hector Longo. I have nothing to do with that. And
okay,
I let him stand on those comments because I don't know if I believe in it, Bill. Honest to God.
Have you spoken to anybody from Everett?
No, I hear you in that case, Bill. But there's a lot of stuff like that that goes on around the state and around New England all the time. You know, parents are kind of nuts these days.
No, it's a good point. Is it Everett High School the coach? No, but I guess that's better said. If a parent is moving just for that, then that's something that can pose a problem eventually.
I think more importantly, and is the open enrollment kind of thing, the school choice type stuff that goes on. Maybe there has to be a more uniform rule around that. That might be the first step before we.
It's a good point.
You know, because honestly, I'm not going to legislate where people live.
Right.
But I think you can legislate their eligibility on.
That's more what I'm saying. You're right.
So, and that's not an Everett thing. That's a statewide thing too.
I agree.
So
go ahead.
We're going to pivot back to North Andover. We got Coach John Dubzinski on the line. Coach, did you hear all this little debate? Did you want to chime in at all? Or you want to talk about the game?
No. Good morning, gentlemen. Thanks for having me on.
Good morning, Coach.
No, I caught the tail end of the debate. It's like you said. I don't know. That's something that I don't know how you can control. I don't know how if somebody moves into a town, who's to say that they can't go to the school? You know, it's that's just something that if they're moving in, they're allowed to go to the school, and then there you go.
So, John, congratulations, obviously, on the win. I'm going to get this out of the way since Bill didn't have the guts to say it to Coach Aylward the other night. Should your game the other night have been at a neutral field, or do you think you earned the top seed, so you deserve the home field?
That's the schedule at the beginning of the year. That's how they set it up. I mean, you fight like hell the whole season to get the number one seed, and I think it's obviously you benefit from that, but it's just that's how it is, and we if it was a neutral site, we would have played a neutral site. If it wasn't, Lincoln Sudbury had the home game last year. We had to travel down an hour and a half last year, and they deserved it. They were the one seed, we weren't, and we had to suck it up and play them. So
yeah, and I brought up that point early in the show, only because you guys have benefited, say Friday night, but. Obviously you dealt with it last year.
You've played, yeah.
You dealt with it, having to go down there.
Yeah, we made the trip. Yeah, right, of course, and we were fine with that. We didn't. We lost to Bill Ricco last year. We went 6-1. We weren't 7-0, and that was on us. So you got to do your best just to get it done in the regular season, and hope you get a bit of help from the teams you beat and whatnot. So,
Coach, tell us just in terms of like the pinpoint execution of this team right now and the role that you guys are on. Have you ever been in this much of a zone as a coach, seeing the way that your players are executing?
No, I have not. We have, the coaches say we have they're hardworking kids. They're goal-oriented kids. They definitely push each other. They hold each other accountable. But they're very smart. They have very, very high football IQs. And guys like Gabe D'Souza, who's the quarterback of the secondary, he is just like having another assistant coach out there. Jake McElroy is the smartest quarterback I've ever come across. I mean, he makes a lot of calls at the line of scrimmage. He makes a lot of suggestions of what looks good, what doesn't look so good. Our linebackers are great. They're great reading their keys, and they seem to be always at the point of attack. So that's very beneficial that you have kids that really, they have a good concept of the game, and they take the coaching very, very well, too. So they're playing very, very well.
Coach, next game coming up. Once again, I know each week it's preparation. We heard from Gabe, each week we just want to get better and improve. What's kind of the focus going to be this week, other than the game plan, to just keep them locked in over the next, 13 days?
Yeah, we're obviously we're ecstatic to be where we are. I know it doesn't seem it, but we got a game before the Super Bowl too. Right. It's and that's a big game for our kids. The Thanksgiving Day game is a big, big game. Our kids love competing against Andover. I'm sure they love competing against North Andover. So right now we're preparing to play a great game against Andover before we even, talk about King Philip.
What do you do in that spot, Coach? I mean, in terms of just keeping the kids healthy, heading into that Super Bowl.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead. 100% the kids are playing. You don't get many shots to play a high school football game in your career. You got 11. If you're very, very lucky and fortunate, you play 12. So we want, the seniors. It's a special game. I know the system has kind of devalued Thanksgiving. It's made it into, not a meaningless game, but it's a game where a lot of pride is on the line. You play in your hometown. You play in your rival. So there's still that element, and I would never want to take that away from the kids. So we're going in preparing it just like it's a regular game. I know some other coaches will agree, some other coaches will disagree, but that's how we're going to handle it.
It's as big a game for Andover as they'll have this year, obviously. So it's their Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, the Thanksgiving Day game is a season of itself. I mean, it's
right.
If you're not having a great season, you can always say that, hey, this is a great way to end the season with a win. You can go into the off season with some momentum. So they have that motivation going into it. So we've been on both sides. We've been the underdog, and then we've been a team that's been playing pretty well and be considered a favorite. So it's a big game. I know not in the standings. I know not in the playoff picture, but for the Towns, it's still a pretty big game. Not as much as it was before 10 years ago, but I still coach it like it's just any other game.
I don't know, Coach. When you're coming in as arguably the best team in the state right now, this is the Super Bowl more than ever for Andover.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And listen, 3 years ago we played Andover when they got to the Division I North, when they had EJ Perry at quarterback. They were a much better team than we were, and now the kids were fired up all week. They wanted to play. I mean, we prepared as best we could, and they got the kids up for that game. I mean, they had the better of us. They were a much better team than we were, but it was still, we went into the game expecting to win because we were just so we practiced very, very hard, prepared for it, and we considered that like a playoff game. So yeah, you have that element going for you on Thanksgiving.
Hey, Coach, we did have a game yesterday, and I guess I don't want to be remiss to say, Gabe's stats, defense. The show for me has always been making sure the players get talked about, other than just a quick line in the newspaper. Talk a little bit about yesterday's game and obviously the game plan, but some of the kids that aren't getting the stats that had to step up, and do what they needed to do against an excellent Lincoln Sudbury team that was shut out.
Yeah, right. Okay, so right off the bat, we went. They went 3-0 in our defensive line. I'll start with the four kids. If I can do the front seven, that'd be great because they played like men on Friday night. We had Mike Roach at D end. We had Raphael Usman at D tackle. We had Tom Vance at the other D tackle, and then we had Stephen Ferrulo at the other end. And then our linebackers were Keegan Hardacre, Matt Samanuk, and Ryan Slattery. And then our outside linebackers, Mark Federico. Those kids, they ran a lot of waggles. I mean, that was their number one play. Waggles, boots, waggle keeps. And the kids did a great job of just pushing the pocket, keeping the kid contained. He didn't get outside much on us. And I think that kind of hurt them a little bit because I thought that was their go-to play when things, when they needed to play. So it was an amazing effort by the defense. I don't think Lincoln Sudbury's gone scoreless in a long time. So it was a true testament to the kids, true testament to the defensive coaches. It was a hell of a performance by those kids.
The kid, Braden, is it O'Connell? Is that his name?
Yes.
My bad. He's beaten teams to the edge a ton this year. Your end play, is that what it is? The end, the end guys
Yep.
guys on the end have to stay home, stay true to their keys and their tasks right there. Is that what happens?
Right. Yeah, the edge guy, the end guys. The biggest thing they have to do first, they have to contain their gap. If there's a run play to their side, they have to contain their gap, make sure they're filling that. But it's tough because when the offensive guy blocks down, your goal is to come down, squeeze it, and then when the quarterback gets outside, you have to kind of reposition yourself to get outside. And our ends are very good at stepping down and then kind of getting back to the quarterback if he's trying to break contain. But yeah, it was our ends who did a good job keeping them in. But our outside linebackers, Ryan Slattery and Mark Federico, they really we call it set the sideline. They really tightened up the sideline where he couldn't get outside, and the inside linebackers all filled from within. So yeah, you're right. The kid was a great player, O'Connell, and for 2 years, he's destroyed defenses. So it was a great night for those kids.
We've been talking so much about your offense throughout the year. I mean, it's great to get the defense in the spotlight. They certainly earned it with this game. I mean, Keegan, you mentioned Keegan Hardacre, Mike Roach, both had big sacks there to force turnover and downs when Warriors were driving. Then you had. Charlie Regan knocked the ball out of the quarterback's hand, recovered by Vance. I mean, just big. D'Souza with two interceptions, big plays all over the field for this defense.
Yeah, it's been. I don't want to say they've been undershadowed, but it's the defense has been all season long. They're a major reason why we have extra possessions on offense. If you're forcing 3 and outs, I mean, usually in an average game, the offense gets probably 2 possessions per quarter, but if you're making stops, forcing incompletes, if you're getting 3 possessions a quarter or whatnot, I mean, you're just getting a lot more opportunities to put the ball in the end zone. So it's a perfect marriage of a defense playing well, putting the ball basically at midfield or at the 40-yard line and giving us a short field. And we always say 4-down territory. We'll call plays based on going forward on 4th down. So that helps out a lot. So. The same thing. We're just going to go back to the drawing board. We got 2 big games left, and we're just going to have to, keep at it. Stick with our fundamentals. I mean, football has changed a lot, but the team that usually tackles better, blocks better, and just is more physical is the team that usually wins. So we just try to really hammer that home and focus that in practice.
We've been saying it. We said it to start the show. Danny Ventura should be paying attention at this point. And do you care at all about those rankings or where they play? I mean, you guys are playing like the number 1 team in the state right now. But do you care at all about that talk?
We care about it at the end. That's the thing. The kids, how kids are. At the beginning, they're saying, "Oh, I heard that with this." I go, guys, it only matters when there's no leaves on the trees. That's if you finish at the end, that's when the rankings really matter. I mean, it's good to get the recognition. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it's great. We appreciate it and all that. But our biggest thing was the PowerPoint. That's what we wanted, the number 1 seed. That was one of our team goals. We wanted to be the number 1 seed. We got that. Another team goal was to win the North. We got that. And it's funny. We had 5 team goals at the beginning of the season, and the 5th one, I put a big sign up in the locker room, and I just put a big picture of Gillette Stadium. And Jake McElroy says, I don't like that. I go, what's wrong? He goes, we're not trying just to get there. We want to win the game. So he took it down, and the 5th goal was to win the Super Bowl. So that's our beating Andover, winning the Super Bowl. That would make this a real special season for these kids.
So just to clarify, John, you're okay with MVC Gridiron Weekly proclaiming you the number 1 team in the state right now here and now? You're okay with that?
Hey, it's great. The kids earned it. I mean, I don't know if we are or not. That's up to you guys. But the biggest thing, we just want to play to our utmost potential. That's it. We don't want to lay an egg. We don't want to take steps backwards. We just want to keep getting better. I know it's a boring cliche, but that's the thing. It's just, we want to keep filling the kids' emotional tanks and keeping them hungry, keeping them humble, and just keeping them playing. a fast, aggressive football. So we appreciate it. I think that's awesome. It's good for the program. It's good for the town. But like I said, we just we try our best to ignore the noise and just do our thing.
So, John, we talked about your big four ad nauseum this year. Obviously, McElroy, Watson, Gabbett, and D'Souza. How much do they play on defense? Do you use them both ways, those guys?
That's the thing. We're very fortunate. We have a lot of one-way players, which I think has really been beneficial because we're very healthy right now, whereas teams are nobody's healthy at this point in the season. A lot of kids are banged up, sore, whatever. Watson plays both ways. McElroy only plays quarterback. D'Souza plays both ways.
Freddie.
Gavin only plays one way. Our front four on defense, they only play defense. Wow. So that our one of our safeties, Mark Federico, he only plays defense. Jack Walsh, primarily just cornerback. He'll go in during the spread, but this is the most amount of one-way players we've had in a long time. And for many years, I've been kind of against it because I figure you want your best players out there all the time, but it's a long season, it's a long game, and if you got a lot of two-way players, there's more opportunities for them just to get worn down or just get banged up. So we've been very lucky this year to kind of have those one-way kids.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I look at Watson and I go, 4 touches, 183 yards. That's like 45.8 yards per touch there on offense. Do we have to get him the ball a little more, John? Or?
No, I'm sure I'm getting a lot of flack for that. Exactly. It makes total sense. Even the coaches like, well, the Woburn game, I mean, we were very fortunate. I mean, the kids were out at halftime. The previous game, the kids were out by the third quarter. I'm not saying it is what it is. And, if you're scoring quick, if you're making stops on defense, our goal's not to score 60 or 70. It's just we want to be able to
execute,
go out there, do our thing, and then whatever happens, happens. But, yeah, I mean, he's a kid that he honestly should be touching it 25 times a game in most situations. 2 years ago when he was a sophomore, he carried it 45 times against Lawrence. And I think it's just a testament of the quarterback Jake doing a great job just getting to spreading the ball around, distributing the ball around. We're more balanced, you know what I'm saying? So it's like a lot of our kids can make a big play at any point. So I know. So his stats may suffer a little bit, but overall we're a much better team. And he understands that too, and he's been great about it. I mean, Freddie Gavin comes in, he says, Coach, keep my tailback. He's running great. I'll play the slot. I'll do whatever you need. And that's, for a teenage kid in 2018, that's very, very rare.
Awesome.
Coach, we obviously want to talk as much about the team as possible, but, I mean, you had a very big individual moment there, and we had Gabe D'Souza on a couple weeks ago and just talked about, circling the date on the calendar, getting past this moment, for him to get to experience the game and get past that kind of that medical moment. What was that like for you to see him? To see him just elated and be able to enjoy that.
It was such an emotional ending. He was inconsolable. I think it was tears of joy, tears of relief. It was. I mean, the kid had we all know what happened. It was an awful, awful thing, and for him to even come back alone and play was unbelievable. It just shows how resilient he is and how disciplined he is, and he's a special kid. He really is. I mean, he was on the show. I mean, he's a well-spoken, young man, very mature. He's very impressive. And we're very lucky to have him. And I know this game was probably not an easy one leading up to it. I think there was a lot of mixed emotions, excitement, nerves, memories of what happened. But when I think the game ended and the whistle blew, it was just a huge sense of relief. Like, we won, and we're going to the Super Bowl, and it was just all that hard work that went into it. Just all the emotions came out. And I was so happy for him.
You guys have so many great stories on this team, Coach. It's hard to it's almost hard to spread the ball around in terms of the stories go, because you got so many great kids on this team. Congratulations on this run to this point, and just I mean, we were saying it earlier, exclamation point after exclamation point, thump thump thump, as Hector said. Keep thumping.
I feel like you have one of the best quarterbacks in the area, and we're not even talking about it. To be quite honest with you, and it's no fault to his, but I one of the questions I wanted to ask you was how are you going to prepare? I know how you have 5, 6, 7 senior leaders that are just really doing what they need to do, but I think you called Gabe a coach on the field, and I think that's what makes it easy for us to kind of skip over a kid that's top 2 in passing and touchdowns and all that, and I almost feel bad as we're not talking about as much as we should. So great.
We'll make up for it during the winter.
Oh, yeah. Jake, hey, the coaches, Jake makes this all go. I mean, he does. I mean, he's been there since his sophomore year.
Yeah.
I can't say enough about him. He runs the option perfect. He throws the ball. He's a great thrower. He's got great pocket presence. He's a smart quarterback. I mean, he makes a lot of, like I said, he makes a lot of calls at the line of scrimmage, and for the most part, they're all right. We're very lucky to have him. I'm not that smart of a coach. He makes us look a lot smarter than we really are. Let me tell you. So he's very tough. I mean, he'll tuck the ball. He won't avoid a defender. He'll run right at the defender, and he'll put his shoulder down and claw for that extra yard. He's amazing. I can't say enough good things about Jake. He's a coach's dream.
Coach, again, as we said, congratulations. Appreciate you coming on again, and we want to have you on one more time here with a win at Gillette.
That'd be That'd be a good one. Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to come on. That'd be great.
All right, Coach John Dobzinski, appreciate it very much coming on a Sunday morning.
Thank you, guys.
Absolutely. Have a great rest of the weekend. We'll talk to you down the road.
Thanks for all you guys do.
That's Coach John Dobzinski here on MVC Gridiron Weekly. We will take a quick break. We will come back. We have made contact with one Jack Kelly. We'll have him on after the break. Switch back to Tewksbury. And we'll talk about the non-playoff games, top performers. We'll get that all done after the break here on MVC Gridiron Weekly, presented by Davila and DeFusco Insurance. I love talking about my man Val Davila. It's a dream to own your own business, and Val and Susan Davila made that a reality in February 2013. They started with just 2 insurance carriers, but now Right in Place Insurance for Progressive, Safeco, Pilgrim, Plymouth Rock, and Mapfre, just to name a few. Need auto insurance, renters, commercial, or home? Davila and DeFusco prides itself in having lifelong roots in the Merrimack Valley. Put their experience to work for you. Visit them at 225 Broadway or call 978-241-7950 for a free quote, or visit them online at daviladefusco.com.
Everyone is cashing in on social media, and all marketing roads lead through social media. If you want to make a splash here in the Merrimack Valley, you need to tap in. This is where the new CEM podcast studios come in. Of course, you can spend your time, energy, and money learning how to wrangle technology to make a podcast instead of running your business. Or you can invest in telling everyone in the Merrimack Valley, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Maine, the Seacoast, or everywhere in the world about your great business, product, service, or yourself. The CEM Podcast Studio is a local audio and video studio dedicated to the craft of podcasts. Their studios feature state-of-the-art recording and mixing equipment designed specifically to produce the best audio and video podcast. Best of all you need to worry about is your show, your business, and your brand. We do the rest. Call 978-686-9966. That's 978-686-9966 to schedule a no-obligation tour of the CEM facilities and meet with a podcast specialist. Or go to CEMpodcast.com to find out more about podcasting services. CEMpodcast.com, your window to the world.
What is going on over there?
I'm showing my stack of ones in my pocket that my wife lets me carry. There's like a 5 and a 10 hiding out there. Back here at MVC Gridiron Weekly, Hector Longo doing his Larry Bird stretching in the hallway. Tim Wood, Bill Bryant, Lou Blassie. Little overtime as we talk playoffs. We haven't even talked about the non-playoff games. Some great performances there as well. We'll get to that in a couple minutes here. But right now, I think yes, we have one junior captain, Jack Kelly, from Tewksbury on the line. Jack, it's
the elusive Jack Kelly.
The elusive Jack Kelly, yes. Tim Wood, Bill Bryant, Hector Longo here at MVC Gridiron Weekly. Welcome to the show, sir, and congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Not so elusive. You just got to know where to look, like Coach said. Just when there's a collision, you'll find Jack Kelly. So that's all it is. I blame us. I blame us right now. Jack, congratulations on the win.
Thank you. Jack,
how... The coach said you're wherever the ball is, that's where you are. You got to be banged up at this point because you're in on every play. How are you feeling physically, mentally, emotionally after that win yesterday?
Well, I think every week it's like a new bruise, a new little injury, but it's nothing really serious. And mentally, I'm ready to go every game. I think the intensity it wears off any like physical or emotional problems that happen. I'm just ready to go.
Jack, Coach talked earlier that you don't speak often, but when you do, everyone's listening. How do you define your leadership role and you know, kind of how do you know when to strike the iron when it's hot as far as when you have to step up and speak up?
Yeah, I'm not that talkative of a kid, so when I speak, everyone tends to listen in, but it's usually when I back against the wall, we need it most. Like, we need just an extra spark in there. I try to lead by example, rather, instead of always talking. But when I back against the wall, that's when I try to be vocal.
So how did you handle it at 14-0 yesterday, Jack? Was it abandoned ship time, or I mean, did you? Was it?
No
what happens at 14-0 to Jack Kelly?
That's a great question.
I don't know. We've been in spots like that before throughout the season where we're down, but there's no give up on us. We realized. Us seniors, that's our last game playing on our home turf, and we weren't going to go out like that.
Because I know if I was in that position, I would have started looking over at the cheerleaders and figuring out what I was doing last night. But for you guys to step up and handle it, it shows a ton of character on that team, Jack. Where does that come from?
I think it stems all down from the coaches. The coaches really make character a big deal, and it's in order to be a good teammate, you have to be a good person. So just in school and out of school, bond with your teammates, and that builds your character and the bond with your teammates too.
You know, so we just had on the John Dubzinski, the coach from North Andover. North Andover, they've steamrolled so much through this postseason. You guys have almost become. I won't say it's like, well, okay, well, North Andover's doing this, but and Tewksbury just kind of sliding by. But you guys are pulling off big win after big win. Do you feel almost like these close games, these come from behind games, kind of build the momentum and build the heart of this team? To have you even more ready for Tewksbury than if you were shutting out teams?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we're seeing good competition every week, and it's not going to be an easy win for us no matter what team we play. So being able to be in these close games and know what it feels like to be behind or have our backs up against a very good team, it gets us mentally prepared and physically prepared for Tewksbury.
Jack, Tim asked a few seconds ago about, you know, kind of how you're feeling after each game, and you talked about bruises. Just talk a little bit about how the preseason, how much time and effort and work you put in, so at this point into the season, you are as ready to go as you can be.
Yeah, well, I'd say it started all back in the winter of last year. Pretty much right when the season ends. I had basketball starting up, but after basketball, I usually lift, and football just always on my mind. So probably like 4 or 5 times a week throughout the year, just getting ready, going out in the field, and lifting, getting as big as I can, getting prepared.
So you play hoop too, Jack?
Huh?
Do you play basketball as well?
Yeah.
So you're probably a good guy to talk to about Coach Tom Bradley.
Yeah.
Tell me, play his role. I think your coach mentioned Coach Elwood mentioned a bunch of your defensive coaches, but I've known Tom forever. How important is he to you guys?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Can you say it one time?
Coach Bradley, Tom Bradley. How important is he on the football level as opposed to, having him for two sports? What's that like, him being part of your life there?
I kind of enjoy it because he brings that football mentality to basketball, and I don't know. I like how it goes.
Jack, in terms of the reverse pitch, when you see that play setting up so perfectly, I mean, you guys obviously work on that play a lot in practice. Yeah. What was it like in that moment to see it setting up just as you'd imagined in practice?
Oh, that was awesome. Because anytime I run the ball, I'm usually just looking for like 4 yards at the most. Like 4 yards is my goal every time I run the ball. But to see that open up, it was pretty cool.
Especially in that moment. I mean, that's the go-ahead play there for you guys.
Yeah, no, it was a big play, big momentum shift, definitely. It's pretty cool.
So, Jack, going into halftime, 14-7, just a small tidbit of clean information. What would be something you would have said at halftime to kind of let people know that the fight isn't over and we're coming out in the second half and taking care of business?
Just that we worked way too hard to go out and spill our guts in the second half. You can't go this far and then just give up on everyone. So I was just pretty much the message. We worked too hard to not do a fight in this game.
Does a high school junior, Jack? Do you realize? Do you feel like it means a lot to your school itself, not just the football program? Obviously, you guys put in the work. Like you said, it starts back in the winter. But do you feel the school and the town coming behind you guys and how important that is? Take me to that moment when the final snap was taken yesterday.
I don't know. It's awesome. Every home game, you get to see a bunch of familiar faces from across town showing up. You got teachers, all the school administrators, and then just anyone who enjoys the game, and all the alumni. So it's awesome to have the community behind our backs.
And how about your classmates?
Sorry, what was that?
How about your classmates? Do you feel like the school is embracing it too?
Oh yeah, definitely. All of our classmates, the student section. The student section is awesome. They always got to, no matter where we are, we could be 2 hours away. We could be at our home turf, and the student section will always be there. Kids are always behind us. It's awesome.
Speaking of awesome, I mean, the fourth and goal stop, the goal line stop in general. I mean, tell us just about how that came down, how you making those stops against McCarthy.
Well, it definitely wasn't easy. That kid's a good running back. They got a couple good blockers, too. In that moment, though, I think we realized that was the difference between the game, whether if we stopped them or let them, or his score, that might decide the game. So everyone was just ready to go as the play came, and we made a couple of stops.
It was not so. I would imagine you probably were better playing yesterday versus the rain Friday night. But I mean, it was windy yesterday, and Connolly, your boy Connolly, still had a pretty darn good game.
Yeah,
in the air. Is that just knowing the wind patterns on the stadium and just knowing how to play it?
It might be, or it might just be Conley, because he's a good athlete. He always seems to get it done no matter what the circumstances are. So I'm not sure on that one.
In terms of Tewksbury, I mean, you guys hear all the hype. You guys hear the Beastly. What's the feeling in terms of the locker room in going into this game and in a neutral field. What's the keys for you guys in the locker room?
I'd say just keep our mentality up. We know we're going to be one of the best teams we played all season, but we just have to play like we always do, try to out-tough them, and just take a run of them. That's pretty much it.
All right.
Jack Kelly, great job. Great job. Appreciate you coming on a Sunday morning, and congratulations on another huge season, and best of luck against Tewksbury, and we'll hopefully talk to you down the line here on MVC Gridiron Weekly.
Thank you for having me.
All right, good luck.
Thank you.
Great to have Jack on, beast mode for Tewksbury.
You get the feeling he's enjoying this.
A little bit.
You know, don't you get the feeling he's enjoying it?
I did.
Which is always good. Like,
Yeah.
I wonder sometimes if kids allow themselves to enjoy this stuff. Somebody takes so much to heart. It's good to see. Like, you mentioned Conley. He beamed about Conley and things like that. I think Jack gets it. You can kind of tell he's, obviously he's a really tough kid, and Coach talked about that, but I think he understands that.
That's a tough. I mean, That's a tough balance in terms of embracing the fun without getting too cocky.
No, absolutely.
And the coaches, they try to keep that balance pretty level, but you have to enjoy this.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we've mentioned it before, Bill. Football's its own animal. Yep. All the other sports are done now, basically, other than state title games. Football teams that are 1-9 or 10-0 are still playing right now in November. It's cold. It's outside. It's name a million reasons why you don't want to be at practice come Monday or Tuesday, or shipping off to Chelmsford to play a JV game. And I'm just throwing that name out there just because it's one of the furthest towns away from us here. There's a lot of reasons not to be into this, but football's its own animal. It's different. It's not every town's not Tewksbury, so I guess maybe we can use that as a segue to the non-qualifier games.
Yeah,
this is where the football kind of separates itself.
And that's what I was just going to say in terms of the fun, because I saw Connor came in here Wednesday night for Ranger Nation Radio, and I could see that he's. It's tough to get over that loss, that playoff loss, but I could see that he's still having fun, and we could see it throughout the whole season. You have that. I mean, he had to fight out. He had to get through a quarterback competition. He had to kind of earn those moments to be able to fail and bounce back, and you could just kind of see it from him. I don't know if you're having fun yet.
No, this show has helped. You know what I mean? As far as I'm learning a ton about what I didn't know and getting into little.
I've often told I was therapeutic, Bill. So I'm glad I can help you out. I'm glad I can help you out on that one.
No, without question. But no, we're definitely having fun. I mean, for me, it's staying healthy. I think Jack said it best. About the off season. It starts immediately after football season. No one is there other than his teammates, doing the 4 to 5 days a week, preparing for football, the running, the lifting, the agilities, things like that. And that part of it makes it even more important to have fun and to enjoy it. So that when it pays off and you continue to go into the tournament. Right now for the non-qualifiers, it's putting into perspective how your season was. We'll talk about Methuen, but like Billerica's 4 out of their 5 losses. The Tewksbury's in the Super Bowl, Catholic Memorial's in the Super Bowl. North Andover's in the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. So as much as their season record, and
Billerica gave Catholic Memorial.
That's what I'm saying.
They gave them the best game of the season.
As much as their record looks like crap, put in perspective who they lost to, where those teams are in the state, and you're saying, okay, that team's all sophomores and juniors with a few seniors. That's a team next year that. These next couple of games, beating Andover was huge, and then Thanksgiving.
Did he just call their record crap, Tim?
A little bit.
Come on.
It's okay.
No, but if you look
Where is the sensitivity over there in Methuen?
If you look it on paper, they're like, Billerica's not good this year. But then you really look at who they played, and they're in the Super Bowl, then that record isn't crap, but it looks on paper. And that's what I'm saying. The non-qualifiers, there is a lot going into the games that seemed to not matter. And I wish.
And you talk about having a hard enough time getting up for a game. Friday night was awful.
Yeah, that was
It was
bad.
disgusting. You're going on the road to Reading. You're playing the Division 1A Super Bowl runner-up from 2016. I mean,
Hey, I saw Mr. Houlihan's video on Friday night from their win at Andover.
Yeah.
Those kids were having fun in non-qualifying games. That was the celebration was pretty cool with them in the band, and if you check it out on Twitter, Billerica's celebration against Andover. Those kids are having fun.
Yeah.
So
They get it.
again,
Let me turn it around on you. Do we have to crown a state champion? In other words, should we just be playing football for football?
No, you still do a state champion.
yeah, you have to.
No, just the concept in general.
Yeah, no, I agree. I wish there was a little bit of a I don't know what it is, but a little bit of a tweak where these non-qualifying games they matter
there's
so
got
much
to be
more.
something there's got to be some. We still got time to think about it. There's got to be something that can be created around these non-playoff games, whether it's a point system where they get a cup at the end for I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I mean, but like we said, they don't even need it.
It's about the hoodie, Tim. You throw the 8 non-qualifiers or whatever into a pool, and the 8, whatever, and let them play for hoodies or something. I'm all for it. Totally. Make it worth something. Go for it.
I mean, Methuen 29, Reading 26.
That was a great game. That was a great football game.
Again, pound. It wasn't just rain, right? This was a pounding rain.
Yeah, and it was
sideways rain.
Sideways, but the fans that are fans came out and did their thing, and the kids just they just never stopped playing football. It was a great football game, and it's Reading. I mean, they're just good every single year, and it was a game where Methuen had to come in ready to go and ready to play, and it's kind of that weird moment where you can talk about the quarterback because his stats for the week were my kid left it all on the field that night. Which was
Coach
wild
Tom Ryan said it. As Connor goes, so have we, and Connor went. Connor Bryant went for, where is it?
274 of their 285 yards of offense.
153 passing, 121 rushing, 3 TDs. I mean, he's having it's tricky too because we got this guy here.
I can't like him as much because he picked lacrosse over baseball, but that was a Cal Carroll-esque performance. If you remember Cal Carroll, that was what he did at Methuen High School, and he was a baseball player. That's why I liked him. But yeah, I mean that's a monster performance right there, Bill, and good for him. All
right, this is 3 straight weeks of just epic passing rushing. He's got to be close to average 100 on rushing as well, right?
Yeah, over the last 5 games.
Yeah.
Obviously, Ricky Brutus, a good little running back, and has kind of teams have keyed in on him a little bit, and it's allowed Connor, having a 71-yard touchdown run. That was something that was, as a dad or a fan, that was great.
And that was the video you sent, right? I mean, that was not an easy run. I mean,
but I will say this: as someone who spent a majority of my adult life coaching, I'm psyched for Connor as a quarterback. But as you see the picture right here on a 4th and 1. They went for it. The punter tried to dive, and you got Jamie Blaisdell, Sammy Ferrulo, Liam Gilmore. It was a collision like I've not seen in high school sports. Afterwards, a couple kids were still down on the ground, both okay. But that was a football game. That was a playoff atmosphere, playoff game.
Explain the play, because
it was a 4th and 1.
Yeah.
They were punting. It looked like a designed fake punt. The punter just started sprinting to the yard marker, and the Methuen defense, like they had been doing all game on the running, they struggled a little bit on the slant pass. That's where Reading kept scoring. But it was a full-on collision, and this kid was upside down, flipped over, and it was not the turning point per se, but it was a huge play that allowed Methuen to stop the drive and stop Reading, driving, and just led to another nice long drive by Methuen.
You mentioned Sammy Ferrulo, Chad Roa.
Now, high school football is a little bit tough because kids seem to change their numbers. So Chad's a hardworking kid. He's a junior. I coach him in Pup Honor, but Chad's not.
This wasn't Chad Roa.
Anthony Romano
Yeah.
is a sophomore, linebacker, fullback, special teams. The kid is.
They changed numbers.
Yeah, they change numbers, and you know, I sit with his family occasionally, and they're like, "Oh, he's getting another number." That means I'm like, guys, don't worry about your son. His name is well known, and he's absolutely fine as far as the recognition. Little print here and there. I mean, they call Connor a senior in the Eagle Tribune. Little mistake there. He's only a junior, so I get to enjoy the stress next year again. But Anthony Romano is a phenomenal linebacker, football player, but he's a sophomore too. So he's going against real, older Division I players and just holding his own and then some.
You talk about Thanksgiving meaning something. I mean, this Drake-Methuen showdown now is going to be everything. It really is.
I turn to you on this as far as Drake and Methuen, the matchup. Just what your opinion is, and what are some keys for that game?
Well, I mean, I think we're a little early on that, Bill. We can get that into that next week. But,
yeah.
That's true. That's true.
But obviously that game has had 2 or 3 different games in the last 10 that have been weird. Like never expected this, including last year's game. So we'll get into that. But I think first things first, though. I mean, we got to look ahead. Next week, can we do a playoff recap / Thanksgiving preview type show next week?
Oh, yeah.
That's what I'm looking for.
I think we should.
Absolutely.
And
why wouldn't we?
the huge Tewksbury game. It's interesting that the D3 teams have to play that extra game between whereas a lot of teams have this week off.
Yep.
In preparation for Thanksgiving.
We'll have one game to talk about. We'll have the Tewksbury game to talk about, but we could talk Thanksgiving.
Yeah, we
I mean, maybe this is the week we have the playoff debate. I don't know.
It could be.
Maybe.
Absolutely.
Like you mentioned, Bill Ricka 29, Andover 21, big win there. Rob Moore, who's this Rob Moore kid? This Rob Moore kid is just putting up other worldly stats the last 3 weeks here. 22 carries, 176 yards, 2 touchdowns for Bill Ricka.
Look out for them next year. I think we talked about this before.
That was my point about the crap record. It's not about that. It's about that's a team that just was rebuilding and is going to be in the mix next year without question.
Mm-hmm.
So Westford, I didn't expect the Grey Ghost to take down Lawrence. Lawrence was going for their first 3-game win streak, other than a forfeited win streak since 1996. Mm-hmm. And Westford had other ideas, 32-6 over Lawrence. Lowell, I'm sorry, Hector.
I kind of expected that one. As I talked to Gavin Monagle, the mascot coach, this week. Lowell is very fast for a team coming out of the Cape Ann League, and
they're tough.
That one showed.
14-13 Lowell over Masco, and in the game, we'll have him on at some point. But Brendan Tighe, we mentioned him every week.
He's an athlete.
He is a beast, and he set the school record. Still got a game to go, but he set the school record for most receiving yards in a season, breaking Keith Lynch's record. He's at 1,229 right now, but big game, and I guess he broke it in big fashion as Aiden Foyle hit him on a 54-yard touchdown pass. So good win for Lowell. Brian Callery, Joey Orlando, Dave Brito all had interceptions for the Lowell defense. Justin Villanueva had a touchdown and a big game defensively. Hey, Chelmsford, good on Chelmsford. Another win, 35-13 over Malden Catholic. Kevin Hennessy reached 100 points for his career with 3 extra points for the Lions. We got our kicker talk in for the week.
Yeah, and look, that's good to see for that program. I think way back in August, I saw them scrimmage the Rangers, and it didn't look very promising then. But you see them put wins up in November. It's pretty impressive.
That'll be a day I'll remember for a long time. We actually officially met that day, you and I, and
yeah, when I said, "Who the heck is that loudmouth in the stands?" and somebody said, "Oh, that's Bill Bryant."
He pretty much said, "Sir, you can't be on the field now. You need to leave." And I was escorted off the field, and it's been history since.
That was the day?
That was the day.
That was the day. That was the infamous day.
I believe the word adversarial pops to mind.
Yes. the name we shall not speak. But let's talk top performers.
No.
Jay Conley, we mentioned 6 for 9, 120 yards passing, 94 yards rushing, 2-yard TD run, 62-yard TD run. Huge game for Tewksbury. Shane Aylward, 11-yard TD catch, 45-yard catch from Conley, setting up the tying score. Tewksbury defense, we mentioned goal line stand with 6 minutes to go. Interception from Zachary Whites to end the game, seal the win for the Redmen. Freddie Gavin, pedestrian, 10 carries, 72 yards, 3 TDs for North Andover. Darren Watson wasn't on the sheet. You said four touches.
183 yards and a TD.
183 yards and a TD.
Doesn't make Tim's list.
Didn't even make my list. I know. That's it's on the list now. If it's said, it's on the list. I mean that might even be MVP material right there. Gabe D'Souza, 2 interceptions, 24-yard pick 6. A minute and 6 into the game for North Andover, set the tone.
He did wait 3 plays to do it, though.
Yeah. Okay. North Andover defense, another shutout. Keegan Hardacre, Mike Roche, back-to-back sacks on a big stand. They allowed just 153 yards total, and it was 76 of those coming in the second half after the game was decided. Bill?
Rob Moore, Barica, like you said, who's this kid? 22 carries, 176 yards, 2 TDs. Colby Cyrus, 3 catches, 108 yards, 48-yard TD catch from Nolan Houlihan. And right now, actually, Nolan is with Brendan Ty at UMass playing lacrosse at a high level with
today.
Right now, Massachusetts is a kind of the AAU lacrosse league, and they're kind of teammates right now.
Did he just say that?
What's the matter?
He sure did.
Massachusetts.
That's the name of the league.
That's their thing, Tim. It's just a lacrosse thing. I'm not going to fight it. Being the baseball guy, I'm not going to fight it.
Fastest growing sport.
I need a laxative after that.
Victor Harrington.
All the kids who can't hit the curveball, Bill. All the kids who can't hit the curveball play lacrosse.
You know what? I won't say a word. I've already got enough crap about my prep school and my Everett comments. I'll talk about baseball another time. Victor Harrington, freshman, 11 for 20, 134 yards, 2 TD passes. Nick Zelanskis, Andover, 6 catches, 75 yards, 2 TDs. Mentioned earlier, Connor Bryant, 153 yards passing, 121 rushing, 3 TDs, had 274 of the 285 yards.
I heard his chili was better than Tim's, too. Did he?
Let's just put that there, too.
That was most of Methuen's chili.
Okay.
But I want to say this, though. And Connor and I talk about all the time, Aaron Surth, center. Alex Fitzgerald, guard. Sam Ferrulo, guard. The 2 tackles. Just there's a line in front of a quarterback at all times that they should be. Ian McKinnon and Anthony Romano. As a quarterback goes, and obviously he's putting up a hell of a numbers and all that, but there's kids in front of you. Sam Ferrulo, there's a video that I saw, ran 40 yards after a broken down pass play and made a block. I sent it to his father and mother, like, this is why, thanks for the accolades about Connor, but this is one of the reasons why, and it was their son sprinting down the field, making a block at, 40 yards down the play. Those are the things that the average fan doesn't get to see, that as a dad of a quarterback, you kind of appreciate that.
Aaron Searth, you mentioned him, but I mean, I just, that kid, he's a marvel to me. He's huge, but he's got the most intoxicating smile in terms of just light up a room.
It's a Clark Kent Superman thing.
Yeah.
Off uniform, he looks like he can go and beat you in chess and help you out with your term paper, and then on the football field he smacks you in the mouth and then helps you out.
I mean, he was at that trivia night, just the greatest gentleman in the room.
Got him and Alex
night.
Fitzgerald, constantly doing things. Then and Kareem Coleman, real quick before I pass it over to Hector. Kareem Coleman, 2 catches, 61 yards, a tremendous effort on defense. But Kareem's a kid that I caught in the field house just during off season, working the ladder by himself without anybody around, and those are the things that things start to pay off. Go ahead, Hector.
Yeah, so we talked about the Lowell 14-13 win over Masconomet. That had to be tough conditions over there at Masco, too, because that field does not drain well. I know that for a fact. Justin Villanueva, 19-yard TD run and a strong defensive game. Brendan Ty, obviously the record with the TD pass, and 1,229 yards in a single season.
That's unreal.
old number 16 that every opposing coach talks about. Please, number 16, number 16, number 16. He's getting the spotlight attention and just continues to
still
tear it up.
dominating.
You're talking about the lacrosse player, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
For Chelmsford in their big win, Chris Rabias had 2 TD runs. Mike Vecchione, a couple of TDs too. For Drake at Alan French,
Wow.
13 carries, 123 yards, 2 touchdowns, and J.C. Santiago, 4 catches,
The
73
Week 9
yards.
MVC MVP, J.C. Santiago.
Good for Drake at stepping up,
Yeah.
right? A couple of TD catches from Devin Lambert, and the Middies will be hunting Ranger on Thanksgiving morning.
And we will talk about that next week. Absolutely. We will talk about the Tewksbury game. We will preview the Super Bowl games. We will talk about the Thanksgiving games. Any lock nominees? I haven't put it up yet. Any lock nominees for MVP this week that you got to? I mean, I feel like I got to put Connor on there again, but they're so good at getting out the vote. I almost don't want to.
Yeah, see, honest to God, and I would stick with the North Andover and the Tewksbury kids because they're in the playoff.
And if
game.
you already won 1-2, like to me, you don't necessarily have to.
Yeah, you're
repeat.
right.
And
You're right.
honest to God, not for anything, but you could have an all Tewksbury or an all North Andover.
Yeah.
They just have so many guys
At this
stepping up
point.
on each side.
Yeah.
So that's for you to decide. We need a sponsor for that. I want to, when we move to hoops
Yes.
or what have you, I want a sponsor for that. So we can give away a pizza to the winner or something every week.
Yeah, so we're working on a pizza place. We're working on a couple of restaurants for the winter.
And I have another business. That
If you are ready to step up and you want to hook up a kid with a pretty cool prize, the time has come. I think we're ready to march to that direction.
You've seen a lot of new sponsors on the show this week getting in. We're giving some love to some sponsors that we're trying to get into the mix for the winter season. You'll see McKinnon's on there. McKinnon's 49 cents per pound frozen turkeys.
Mm-hmm. So
also want to give some love to Jen Hamilton, the realtor. She's been a huge Central Catholic backer throughout her illustrious career, but other than her Central Catholic love, she is one of the best realtors, if not the best realtor in the region. Keller Williams Realty, she will get the job done, buying or selling.
she was, I got to tell you, honest to God, she batted 1,000 with me with the 50-50 raffle when she would sell tickets at Central Catholic. Honest to God, there was never a Central game that I didn't buy the $10 for the 50-50 raffle. She was such a good salesman, so I got to give her that plug. She stepped
Absolutely.
up. Talk me into it every time. 100%, never missed a trick right there. She batted 1,000. So
Let her talk you into the perfect home. 508-954-7941. Jen Hamilton, Keller Williams Realty. Huge fan of MVC football, and we're a huge fan of hers, and huge thank you to her for the support throughout the season. Hector said it. Listen, as we said, we wanted to get this show off the ground. We wanted to get this right. We've heard great things from everybody in terms of how much you've liked the show. We're looking to keep this show going during the winter. We're looking to do a hoops-focused MVC show during the winter, and we're looking for sponsors. So if you want to get in on the action, 978-683-8800 or tim@loopweekly.com. Email tim@loopweekly.com. We will get you set up very affordably to get your message out to literally the world.
can I have a final thought here before we go?
Absolutely.
Ooh, a little segment. Final thought.
Yes, final thoughts. The three amigos here. Three Stooges. You can pick the one. I just, Bill, you brought it up. You brought up the fact that we don't talk about Jake McElroy enough in North Andover, the quarterback. I keep thinking about Jake playing shortstop in the spring, and we're about heading into an NFL Sunday, and I think about Jake playing 3 sports, and I think about Pat Mahomes at Kansas City playing baseball through his career, and their releases are very similar because they both had that middle infield kind of release. and it's so helped on the football field. Obviously, Mahomes is, the
Unreal.
The inside track has an inside track on the MVP this year, and I keep thinking of these multi-sport guys and the lack of specialization now. Or maybe a lack of specialization is bouncing back a little bit. You can do your lifting in the winter. Jack Kelly today, lifting during basketball season, for football. You can do that work in the off season and still play other sports. So,
and I'm going to add to that, and you see my kid's numbers right now and doing well. He did not do 1 second of an AAU team. During football, he played football. During basketball, he played basketball. And then a little dabble in baseball until he was 9, and then we on to lacrosse. But never in the summertime. It was time off, and it was, doing some camps and things here and there, but not 1 second of extended year. And I 100% agree with you, and I think it leads to a crossover, leads to improved play, but you're not tearing down the same muscles. You're 100% correct.
Number of people were talking to us during the week and online today, just in terms of are these games going to stream anywhere? You were looking, Lou.
I looked. I couldn't find any commitment.
Does the MIAA, they have a relationship with a streaming service?
I went to the MIAA site too. Yeah.
I want to say that they stream the Super Bowl.
I'm sure it's on there somewhere.
No, the Super Bowls have been on live TV.
Right.
Yeah.
Channel 38 and Sports Channel.
NBC Sports
NBC Sports Boston live streamed them last year too.
Okay.
But I couldn't find an article that said they were going to do it again this year.
Okay.
So.
But at least, you're right, TV 38. Yeah. SBK.
Right between MASH. Right between MASH and Hogan Turtles.
God, I'm so old.
For $10, what's the guy's name? The voice of WSBK.
Dana Hershey?
Yeah.
Oh my God! I gotta give him 10.
And the movie Loft, absolutely.
Yeah, of course, the movie Loft.
I'm an old
Nice.
man.
I was right with you, Hector.
Nice. Final thoughts from you, Bill?
No, just I could not have been any more impressed this season so far with the guests. Coach from North Andover talked about Gabe D'Souza. The kid, I still talking about him. 3 or 4 days after with just how impressed I was, and it just makes me really happy that this came to fruition and we're getting these kids on and having good conversations and highlighting their hard work. So just happy to be part of it.
Not just the getting the kids on. I'm just impressed week after week with the poise of the kids coming on the show. It's not a lot of times when you come in studio, we have the kids in for Ranger Nation Radio. It's easier to kind of get settled in when you're in person, and we can set a vibe. When you're coming in on the phone, not as easy. And yet these kids have been just dynamite week after week, and you did what we're trying to do every week here in terms of asking the question to get more names out there in terms of who's worthy, because these names are going to jump off the stat sheet, obviously, but there's so many more names that deserve and that go into every win, every play that deserve to be mentioned. Now, we're gonna
but trace that back one level, because the coaches have been impressive too.
Oh yeah,
coaches,
absolutely.
You can see where it's coming from.
Without a doubt, absolutely, and I think we've gotten around the league pretty. I think we've lived up to what we said in terms of we're going to get around the league. We've gotten a little bit of everything on the show. We've kind of gone where the story is each week, but tried to get large and small equally represented. Very, very. I mean, they're doing it on their own in terms of putting the wins on the board to be represented. But we're gonna look to do some sort of all-star team. We can talk off here. I want to do it a little differently. We can certainly do the top guys at every position, but I want to do kind of the unsung hero guys too, that don't get the love in these all-star teams. So
Tim looking for his first ever all lineman team, all offensive guard team. I believe Tim was looking for with the
The all punter team.
Hey, folks, we're back Saturday next week again.
Yes.
Right? This was a one-time thing because of all the Saturday action yesterday.
Yes.
But we are back to Saturday mornings at 10. I wanted to remind people of that next week, Saturday morning.
And real quick, huge shout out today to the ladies of football that do their cheering each Friday night or Saturday afternoon. They are in Methuen High School right now for the North Finals, putting on their competitions.
Shocker, Matt Curran stepping up again. That's unbelievable, huh?
The facility is great, but Matt, I mean, they're at 8 o'clock this morning.
You got to want to do it. You got to step up.
That's where he's headed right after this. He was there this morning. He's headed right back.
That's why I was a tad little bit late. Methuen Boosters running the concessions.
No one knows.
No, I know. But it's going to be from 8 o'clock this morning till 6 o'clock at night, and the girls have, hopefully qualifying for the states moving forward. But these are the girls that are there Friday night and doing that. And final shout out to the coach behind the glass that keeps us in check right here, Lou. You're the man.
The coach, the GM.
Having fun. This
all
is a
22 Lou.
All right. As we said, we're back next week, Saturday, 10 a.m. We'll be talking about the Tewksbury playoff game, talking Thanksgiving games. Catch us on demand throughout the week. Like I said, we will put up the MVP vote within the half hour here after the show at MVC Gridiron Week. We will. I like your suggestion very much, Hector, in terms of just focusing in on the playoff teams that are left. You can catch the show on demand all throughout the week on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, and huge shout out to John Dubzinski, Jack Kelly, Brian Aylward for coming on today. And to you, as always, for spreading the word. Keep spreading the word. Like we said, we're looking to carry this into the winter, and as long as the as long as the demand is there, we will be here. For Tim Wood, for Bill Bryan, for Hector Longo, Lou Blasi, Tim Wood. Have a great weekend. Go Patriots. We'll talk to you next week on MVC Gridiron Weekly, presented by Davila and DeFusco Insurance.